According to the Institute of Education Sciences, in the last 15 years, total student debt has grown sixfold and now hovers at over $1.5 trillion. In the United States, millions of citizens and families are defaulting on their student loans every single year. Many of us dream of attending college, and as we go through high school and as we go through grade school, we dream of our future. We hope for comfort, stability, and joy. But now it's looking like less of a reality for us due to these high tuition costs. Whether or not we are going to college, we are all affected by the debt that student loans bring to the economy, and we are all affected by the workforce that is a result of the student loan debt. As a student myself, I have read many credible sources informing me on the student debt crisis and the economic troubles that come with tuition costs and these student debts. I believe that college should be available to all regardless of your status, and college tuition should be free because high tuition deters us from attending college. It decreases our economic growth as a country, and it limits the amount of attendees that we have in college currently. It also limits the amount of education that we receive as a society. I'm going to be explaining the problem with high tuition and the dangers associated with student debt. I will also be offering solutions to these problems that we're facing and the tuition costs and how we can increase the attendees going to college in the United States. So over the past years, college tuition has risen an unacceptable amount, and this has caused a major student debt crisis in the United States. Millions of Americans, hundreds, thousands of families are affected by this crisis every single day, and their lives are heavily impacted on a daily basis. Families are unable to feed their whole families, unable to have a safe and comfortable home because of their debts still being paid years and years after they are already out of school. The cost of education exceeds tuition as well. The tuition does not include the transportation fees, food, school supplies, resources, all which go toward going to school, and this all goes towards the debt that we are facing. How are students supposed to support themselves if their families cannot get through the debt that they have had for 20 plus years? Especially with the rising costs in America, if tuitions continue to increase, then the amount of attendees in college will also continue to decrease. The cost of education causes students to sacrifice many other aspects of their lives because tuition demands all resources. Once these students graduate, they should be able to begin working in a career that they love, not worrying about getting their student loans paid off immediately. Adding these burdens deter adults from attending university altogether, and this heavily impacts our economy. Unrealistic expectations are being set amongst our generation, and as a result of this, we are unable to attend and further our education. Soon, more Americans aren't going to be able to attend college whatsoever if tuition continues to rise. Defaulting on student loans have become more and more common amongst families, and the struggles stay around for years after. Companies that give out these loans actually benefit from naive students looking for education. They make profits off of young adults who strive to make a promising career ahead of them. As a society, if we further education, we would have more access to employment, we would have more jobs available, and we would have a secure place to go. Free college tuition would definitely provide Americans with a handful of wonderful opportunities. The burden of financial stress could finally be lifted, and students would be able to focus on their career and their education. So instead of having to worry about having a part-time job and struggling between classes, we would just be able to go to classes, get our education, and therefore we would be able to get school done and start our lives, start working sooner. Without the stress of paying for school, Americans would be able to focus on something such as ensuring security for themselves and their families and preparing for their future. Relief of this stress would also fix our student debt crisis that we have in our country, and it would help the economy as a result of that. Without a majority of Americans having student debt, we would be able to focus on securing other aspects such as saving for our home, transportation, getting us to school. We would be able to put our time into furthering our education. Also, our time is very valuable, and this time could go towards looking into other things that go along with our education rather than stressing about this debt. Without these financial burdens on teenagers, students would actually be able to get ahead in their careers and experience financial stability once beginning their careers. Releasing these burdens would also provide many new opportunities to the classes in our society that are unable to pay that high tuition fees. Those who grow up in poverty would be able to dream of their future just like everybody else, and there wouldn't have to be any more division. I believe that inequality would be further away in our society, and those who can't afford to pay for schooling should not have to miss out due to poor luck. It's unfair, and I know we can do better as a community to provide opportunities for the people who need it the most. Free college tuition for all would also make our society more sophisticated. Education for those who seek it without carrying the burden for decades and decades of having to pay this back could really make a difference in our country and specifically for our citizens. Free college tuition would definitely further and benefit our economy, provide sustainability for Americans, and would increase accessibility in education. Today, I went through why education is important in our society and why it should be accessible to everyone. But in order to make a change, we do need to vote and support policies in favor of Americans receiving free college. This includes different programs and aid provided to us from the government to keep the help that we need in getting started with our education. I heavily believe that with one vote at a time, we will and we can make a difference when it comes to the student debt crisis. If it's not for you, definitely do it for your family and your loved ones. Thank you for your time.